Well, you just did say hello. So, hello. This is In My Experience with Piperlyne and Sonya Lee.
Hello.
Hello.
How many ways can you say hello?
We could sing it because that's always fun.
Right.
And welcome to...
our show.
Yes, podcast number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Last week, I don't know if we mentioned, in addition to being here on Podbean, we're on several other things.
We're on YouTube.
YouTube, Google, whatever that Alexa thing is. It's not iTunes.
Oh, did you put us on Alexa?
I did put us on Alexa.
Wow. Alexa, please play In Your Experience podcast. In My Experience. Oh, my goodness.
See there?
In My Experience podcast. Absolutely.
So we also have an email, though, where if you would like to send us some love via the email, and that is inmyexperience1111@gmail.com.
That's us.
Our website is
inmyexperience.life. We also have the link to the podcast, and we will update that every week. So you just go to listen in the website, and that'll take you to, I think it's a rolling 10 podcasts. So the last 10, of course, we're on 2, so you're good.
Right. You won't miss anything yet. Keep coming back for more, though.
Yes.
The other thing that I wanted to add about that as well is, if you have the Podbean app, you can also, subscribe to view or follow our show, and then you'll also get those notifications and know when we're going live. We're working on some Patreon and some other things, but it's early days. Because we weren't really even sure why we were doing this. We just thought it sounded like a good idea. So
we just thought, let's do that.
Let's do it. But it's coming together, and hopefully people that want to hear this podcast will be able to hear it. And that's really what the main point at this moment in time. I'm sure we'll be
looking at more.
Right, exactly. So today is the last Saturday of September. We post the shows on Tuesday, but we usually try to record them on Friday or Saturday.
Right.
And we like to look at the week behind to help you with the week ahead. And what a behind week we had.
Girlfriend.
Was it a pain in the behind?
Mine was, yeah.
There
was breakdown once or twice for me personally.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well.
And that, is what happens.
It is what
happens. In this lovely, lovely bizarro land that we're playing in right now.
Yes, for those Seinfeld fans.
Right?
Bizarro world is currently what is happening. What was I going to say? Last week, or the first one, we had recorded, 7, 8 intros before we finally used that one, like over a period of a couple of months, and we kept intending to put them out, and then something else would happen, So we thought we needed to record it again. And I don't even know what I said last week, and I didn't listen.
It was In My Experience.
But Sonya is the maven of editing for us that will be taking care of that. And I honestly don't know if I will ever listen to a recording. So if you ever have a question about something that's said, please make a point of asking via the email or comment section of anything that we listed, because I may not remember.
Yeah, you might want to cite the show that you heard it on, too. I'm just saying. This is all new information to me. Apparently I'm the archivist now, too. I'm kidding. So we all have our skills that we do better, and that's the beauty of, when you find someone that you can work with and you can get that synergy where, you can just... hey, that's all right. That's not your strong suit, or you're too busy, you don't have time. I can pick that up, and then, maybe later on or even before that, hey, and you took care of that for me. And using our strengths and not trying to do it all by ourselves or control or manage everything makes it fun. It keeps it fun and engaging. Mark Manson talks about the shit sandwich. That's what you do, whatever your passion or your purpose is. Everybody has to eat a shit sandwich, right? Which are those things that you have to do for the thing that you love, but you don't love to do them, right? And yes, there is that piece to it, but I also believe, and I've seen, and I see, and we sharing with you, that when you can allow that collaboration, and this is going to bring us around to what we're talking about today too, is we're going to talk about some archetypes and shadow work and living that full wheel of duality and allowing and letting all of that be there, right? Of supporting each other and picking up the slack, and me using my strengths where you're weak and you using your strengths where I'm weak, and nobody gets pissy or petty or judgmental or martyred about it. Because when you think about it, right, that's where your shadow sneaks in. Yeah, that's great. And then after 6 or 8 months, you're like, why is it always me who's gotta do the damn, And now all of a sudden your shadow side's showing up. Why is that? What flipped the script? Well, there's a lot of pieces to that. So, we might unpack all of it. We might just unpack a little bit. But these were some of the things that we talked about and looked at, not only just in this week and some of our personal experiences, but just sort of that whole overarching theme of what life is now and what is the purpose of life right now. I was listening to this song by a band that I really like, and there's a few lines in there that really, like, I had to kind of hit the replay. And
I love songs like that.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, I need to hear that again.
Yeah.
Wait, I need to hear that again.
Like, is that what they really said?
Wait, one more time.
Because that was like really awesome. And it's that questioning mind, right? Like of asking, divine spirit, what the hell is going on here? What is the purpose of this? What is the reason for that? And, as you go through your spiritual journey, as you live and walk a path that allows for you to see the big and the small, take it all, right? And your perspective expands. I've been making this sourdough starter, and this was my third attempt at it, and I'm actually having some success this time. But what really sort of surprised me is I was like super successful. Like I've got 3 generations of starter going now. And for a moment there, probably around Wednesday night, I just thought, I can't keep up with this. I mean, it's like, and I told my husband, it's like a baby. Every 4 hours, I gotta feed this kid, And
I'm over here going, whatever.
Right?
I mean, I fed my child,
right?
But that's about the extent that I'm going to do.
But
so
it was worth
go.
it.
Yes,
it was.
It was important to you. That's beautiful.
And I recognize too that again, that shit sandwich. There's parts to it that I don't love. What I love is getting up in the morning and seeing that jar with all those beautiful bubbles, and know that my gluten-free pancakes are going to be so like real pancakes because they actually have rise. So anyway, why am I talking about this? Because even making sourdough, you can go through your light and your dark, your light and your shadow, in something as simple and benign and mediocre, right? Like those are good things. I would rather go through my shit making sourdough than do it on an unsuspecting population.
Well, there's this concept that I have carried for a long time, which is whatever it is that you need, life, with capital L, is going to bring to you. And so if what Sonya was talking about, the shit sandwich, right, goes hand in hand with the conversation that we had earlier this week, talking about what you're willing to give your time to. Mm-hmm. And how much you're willing to give up for what payout you're going to get. And so as a trigger word, as an expression to explain what we're talking about, we're going to go into Caroline Myss Archetypes, and we're going to talk about the prostitute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to talk about the prostitute.
And so, because I was having a conversation and bringing up with Sonya some of the things that I was going through and experiencing currently in my life, and coming to the understanding that the prostitute, the archetype of the prostitute, was playing a role in my life. And it's very simply, while we have a lot of emotion, or a lot of people have a lot of emotion tied to that term and that word, it's very simply, once again, what are you willing to give up, or what are you willing to do for what payout? And it's very personally driven about what you find important. So if you're trading, say, your time for a paycheck, which if anyone is working, that's what you're doing.
You are prostituting yourself as we speak.
Absolutely. And that's the approach that she takes.
Yep.
Is that everybody does this. So it's you personally decides, this is what I'm willing to give up, and this payback that I get, whatever it is, I feel like is appropriate and right and true for me, so I'm willing to continue.
Yeah. And we could
Sit
go
the ship
all
sandwich.
kinds of political, social, economical, co-vibe on this if we wanted to. But I feel like the message of what we're trying to share here will be lost. You can certainly apply it in those scenarios.
All of them.
We're not going to speak to that because I don't want you to only focus on that and not see what the bigger picture is. So we're going to kind of have a little bit more benign sort of ways of bringing this. But I just want to share real quickly what some people have to say, Caroline Myss and a couple others, about the archetype of the prostitute. Because just this one, I think it's 4 sentences, to me sort of takes everything we've said and puts it in a lovely little package. Do you keep your word to yourself, or do you give in to the fear of survival and need for security? It is easy to live the path of your soul when all is well, but times like these test our true values. Now is when you run the risk of selling out to try and make sure that your material needs are met.
How many times have we heard the term sellout? Right? You hear it a lot of times, like especially with artists.
Yep.
Or musicians, like artists of all kinds, right? Oh, well, they sold out.
Yep.
And there's a judgment with it. Man, we like to judge the prostitute.
Or you were bought off. Even
well,
worse than
yes.
a sellout is
There you
a
go.
bought off, right?
There you go. So there's a lot of judgment that surrounds that.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is, again, we all do it.
Mm-hmm.
We all do it. You put up with your husband, I don't know, doing whatever it is your husband does, or your partner, or your child, and you do it to maybe save the peace.
Right.
Right? So not
Or to ensure that they'll love and take care of you and
There
change
you
your
go.
diapers when you're 87.
Well, that's a thing, right?
That's a long payoff right there.
I do actually know people who have done that. I had a friend who told me that they were remaining in a relationship because there was a fear when they got older that they would have cancer and there would be no one to take care of them. Now, they, at the point of saying that, they were literally in their 30s and healthy.
Wow. But
So,
manifesting like a mofo right there. I'm just saying.
but that was appropriate for them, right? They felt, well, I don't know how much they felt that was an equal trade-off because they were really challenged with
Sure.
that thought. But yeah, absolutely. I choose to ignore this. I choose to not to deal with this. I choose to, and some of it is okay and
Yeah.
right and good.
Listen, compromise and negotiation are what make the world go round.
Right, absolutely. It's not like you shouldn't do it. You absolutely should, because that's how we function.
Yes.
That's why specifically Caroline Myss's work everyone has a number of different types of archetypes.
Yeah, she says we generally have about 12 or so that we roll with all the time.
Right.
4 that every single person has. They're always with you from birth to death.
Right.
Prostitute being one of them. Victim another. The saboteur.
Yeah.
The saboteur, that's another one. We might have to talk about the saboteur down the road too.
Mm-hmm.
And then the child. And of the child there are 4.
I think so.
Wounded, orphan, magical, and divine.
Is it divine?
I think it's divine.
Okay. I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
But there are 4.
There are 4, yes, okay. So those, so you take those 4, they call it, and I love that because 4 is the number of foundation in numerology. So we have 4 base archetypes that make our foundation.
Right.
These begin influencing, supporting, protecting, or slowing us down from birth. And then we build upon them. And they're always shifting and changing. Like I remember when I was doing some Caroline Myss work at school, I was very warrior, masculine, leader type energy. And it just was so frustrating to me because there was just all of this, very masculine energy that I was pulling and drawing and being drawn to in this. And, I was so focused on that I wasn't allowing myself to see the beauty and the femininity and the softness that was also there. And how that was shown to me was lamenting to the teacher in class about, I just don't understand why I have to have all this masculine energy. Well, earlier that day I had brought some cupcakes to share, and she looked me dead in the eye and she said, nobody that makes cupcakes like that is all masculine, keep digging. And there you have it. So sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, or we focus so much on one archetype that we don't see and understand. And if you don't think that they don't all work together, they're like chakras. Some are open, some are closed, but baby, they're all moving.
Right.
Unless
and they're all a part of you.
Yeah.
They're
working in
or not. Working in conjunction or not.
Thank you for that word. I'm like, what's that word? I'm making all these hand gestures.
You should have seen her. She was really moving quickly. There was a wind going. But I understood.
But it caught her sail, so we're good.
We're good. So yeah, the dealing with the four core archetypes, once again talking about the prostitution specifically, or prostitute specifically, is shadow work. And shadow work is a term that is often talked about in these realms, let's say, maybe not in everyday life and other situations, but it's the idea that every person walking has a shadow component of their life. And as a hypnotherapist, you are very clear on just how much the unconscious and subconscious rules your choices and your decisions without your awareness, until you teach yourself to become aware. And then it still does it. I think Sonya did touch on that last week. It still does it and gives you an opportunity to become aware again.
An even deeper level of awareness to take you deeper into your awareness.
Yes.
You ever saw Inception?
I did, but I can't remember.
That is a great movie where they go into dreams to deal with issues. And they can go many levels into dreams, but the problem is the more levels you go into, the harder it is for you to maintain discernment of who you really are.
Right.
And I think that happens to a lot of people when they first start doing shadow work as well. There was another movie I just watched recently that was it was the sequel to The Shining. And
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, it came out and nobody, they didn't do nothing.
When did it just recently?
Yeah, 2019, 2018. Huh. I'm going to try and pull it up. But here's what was so beautiful about that story as well is it spoke to the multifaceted, multidimensional beingness of what we are. And so it goes a little more into, if we were like talking dimensionally, I think that gives us more dimensionally, even though Inception was a more dimensional movie overtly, it was the subtleties of what happens with your focus, with your observation, with your keeping track of what's real and unreal around you, right? So that one was sort of like, oh, I think it's about this, and then you go, right? And then the other one you go, oh, I think it's about this, and then it goes, yeah, no, it's really this.
It's really about this.
And so when we have those experiences in life, like you get the adrenaline in the movie, right? Like the suspense. I jumped a couple of times. But when it happens in real life, it's not just sitting on a couch with a bowl of popcorn going, oh, that was so funny.
Oh, relax.
No, it's like, what is wrong with my life? Jesus, come and save me. I can't take it no more.
I am not safe. Well, it's interesting because that takes us back around to something else that we were talking about, Sonya, is talking about Bizarro world, right? So life on this planet right now is crazy.
Ugh.
And so very different in so many ways than what we're used to. And we're not talking about politics, and we're not going to get into that. We're just talking about the overall experience that we're having. And so this Bizarro world, right, with the combination of access to information in moments, and then just more and more and more and more information, and ease of access with our phones. I mean, at my house, there's one phone, there's 2 iPads, there's 2 Fire tablets, 3 Fire tablets, and 2 computers. This is just in my house. We do have 2 TVs.
Right.
So this is just in my house. So I can turn on, I can watch 8 different things, or more, I didn't count. I could watch 8 different things at the same time, if that's something I wanted to do. So all of this information is just slamming us.
Sure.
And, marketing, PR, so much of it is bad. So much of it is created to look bad to us.
And
to
by
trigger.
Design. Because
absolutely,
there's
by
a
design.
lot of psychology that goes, if you don't think that there's not mind manipulation, it's not just the church.
I tell you what, when I was taking psychology, one of the reasons why I stopped and decided not to get my degree, because I couldn't do that. When I was taking psychology, it was just coming out at that point about PR and media psychology.
Oh, absolutely.
And it was being sold as an option to get your degree in so that you can manipulate people's minds. And I'm like, I can't do that. No. So I can't participate in that. So I'm not getting my degree in psychology, and I went towards the life coaching, and
we're all better for it.
Right. Most definitely. Anyway.
Not because she wouldn't have been a great psychologist, but she's a much, much, much better spiritual coach.
I am better suited for it. Yeah. Absolutely. But so the point that I wanted to make was that all of this craziness that is going on, right? We are now talking about the movies that Sonya brought up.
Yeah.
We are seeing it.
Yeah.
We are seeing it happen all around us, and it feels like it's triggering all this stuff in us, right? And being the prostitute is part of that. Part of the shadow that is coming out. So it's triggering all this stuff around us. But there is a thought that Sonya and I have about that.
Yes.
Is how much of it is coming from us? How much of it are we playing out?
Yeah.
Because it's time, the shadow is rising.
Yeah.
It's rising, and it's not just from them.
No.
Whoever you want to point to as them. It's not just them.
Right.
This is how our wounds come up to be healed.
100%. If you've done any work at all, then you know that if you don't know about it, then you can't do anything about it.
Correct.
And so right now we're seeing, and I'm not going to go political, but I am going to go collective just a smidge. Right now we are seeing a lot of things that are wrong on this planet collectively that maybe haven't been haven't been a topic of conversation before. And now it is the topic of conversation.
Right.
And so in that example, this is absolutely being brought to us so that we can say, hey, looky here, people. Were you even aware this was happening? But the things that we have been talking about and complaining about and trying to figure solutions for some time has been very interesting, because some of the most important things have just dropped off altogether. Some of the other most important things have been proven to be wrong,
yeah,
or manipulated,
right,
and fed to us through some false narrative. And some things have been found to be, sort of the shell casing that actually hid a bigger truth.
Yeah.
And one that actually served us, that was just kept from us because it wasn't in something or someone else's benefit for us to have access to this. I think specifically of the new sarcophagi that they found and at the pyramids, and they found 29 of them. Oh yeah. And somebody was joking like, oh please, 2020, put it back. don't open them, And yet, right?
Release the demons. No,
we don't need a mummy right now. All right, I'm not sure if the rock is available.
An undead army. No, thank you. No, thank you.
And yet, at the same time, my mind immediately goes to, but I would love to see what that time and space is revealing to us now. It's not a coincidence that it's just now, unless, of course, it is by design, and they've always known it was there, and now they just think it's a nice, shiny, distracting object. See, you can go, you can just like, if you ever had a handball, right, or a little khaki sack thing, you can just kick this thing, use your foot, your hand, your elbow, whatever, right? Because you can go all sorts of directions with it. But you can't do that until you've done your work.
Right. And you can feel like you're a victim of it, which I think is really easy to do if you're constantly feel like you're being beaten by the social media. And if you feel like you're a victim of it, then the opportunity, and that happens, there's no judgment with that.
Not at all.
I have felt that.
Absolutely.
The gift is that it points out to you the opportunity for you to address the victim that you're feeling, to you address the prostitute that you're feeling and where you're being taken advantage of and where you're not, and dealing with that within you, because the desire is to focus our energy out there and make them do what we want them to do. Right? And if nothing else, 2020 has shown us, not so much. You can't really, you can rage against the machine, but you really can't make someone else do what you want them to do. So you have to go
and not only
inward.
That, but you need to be able to take care of yourself too.
Right.
Making them be a little sovereign.
This is true.
Just a little.
Making them do what you want them to do doesn't. It can maybe feel like it helps you feel safe. And in situations where you are in real, actual danger, obviously, you need to have them stop doing it, right? First thing I think of is someone's trying to harm you. Then it is you need them. You need to make them stop doing it. But that's not what I'm talking about. That's
although that can also be a situation with the prostitute archetype where you make those excuses of not being able to leave that abusive situation because you've got nowhere else to go. You're trapped. You're isolated. You won't be supported or taken care of. You'll be on the street or what have you. And again, there's no judgments here at all. Please, please, please understand this. These are merely examples of ways that we all take our lives and negotiate them and take power and give away power, and we do it because it meets our needs in this moment. Right. I too have made that decision to stay in a relationship that wasn't supportive, that wasn't safe.
Right.
Because in the moment I didn't know that I had anywhere else to go, but I'll tell you, in my situation, the risk of staying was greater than the risk of not having anywhere to go.
Right.
And so I took that chance. I took that risk. I defied what reality was showing me as my truth and said, no, if this is my truth, then this doesn't work for me, right? That takes a great deal of courage. It takes a great deal of timing, too, because there were a lot of things that had to come together in order for me to pull that off.
Right.
And anyway, my point about this is that without the judgment there, you can look at and explore and ask yourself the questions. And if you find that it's just, I'm too afraid, I've been beaten down too much, we'll just keep going with this example, to try to do anything on my own, that's okay. The real key is that you finally looked at and acknowledged, you've taken the first step to say, you know, there's some ownership in this for me, and I'm making a choice, because right now that's the choice that keeps me breathing.
Right.
I would never judge anyone saying if I, and I've been in situations, and I've had other people in situations where I have to go home. The kids are there. I cannot leave him with the children.
Right.
All right, you go home.
That's what you
go
need
home
to do.
And do what you got to do, because you know better than I do.
Right.
And then let me know, because we are making a plan. But right now, in this moment, I'm going to honor what you know about you more than what I do. And that's why we can't judge in these moments, because those are real life situations. And yes, that's a great example of a prostitute archetype to keep you safe and alive. And there are other situations that we do just because we have successfully negotiated, and we're willing to take that deal, right? Like Anna Nicole Smith and her husband. There was some sort of mutual agreement. Some people look at her and go, she was just after the money. So he didn't care. Obviously, they came to some agreement that worked for them. Right. He was willing to pay her. She was willing to take payment to be with him. It was mutually beneficial. Right.
It was something they agreed on.
Something they agreed on. And the other reason I bring this up is because I had somebody on Facebook that had put an unpopular question about legalized sex workers and, is that being an acceptable form of employment in society.
Right.
And of course it immediately made me start thinking about the archetype, because even if you're not a sex worker, you're a prostitute.
Right. In some way. I
won't go any more on that. I'll let Piperlyne take it from there. I just wanted to bring that to a head, put a pin in it, because I know it triggers people, but I really, really, really want you to understand this is how you get out of victim mode.
Right.
When you can accept and understand that I am choosing to have sex with this man that I don't want to have sex with, but he makes good money and he pays the bills, just accept it. Maybe it won't be that way forever, but this is the decision and the choice that you're making to work with this archetype. Just the same with the victim, just the same with the saboteur, and just the same with the child. And when you look at those four together, you absolutely see and understand why all four go together.
Right, absolutely. And the thing is that that's the shadow work, right? Coming to the point of understanding that I am making this conscious choice to do this.
Step one.
Right. For whatever reason, and allowing yourself to acknowledge that and release yourself of the judgments and the hatred that can come with that. Self-hatred that can, and maybe their hatred because they're making you do it. Sure. So releasing that and letting that go. And the thing is, the way that we work is that when we acknowledge and accept that this is where we are, and that it simply just is, and we don't have to hate anyone for it, especially ourselves.
Oh, I'm waving my arms in the air.
that this is where we are. The way that life with a capital L works is somehow, some way, something shifts.
Yes, it does.
And with that shift becomes, or comes, not becomes, comes some type of opportunity. And that is literally being the sovereign being.
Yes,
that is taking control of your life, even in a situation that is
That one got me hot flashing now. Woo! She's speaking some fiery truth. Keep going.
now you make me forget what I'm saying.
No. But you were talking about how that's sovereignty right there.
Yes, that is sovereignty right there. When you look at your life, you look at your situation, and you say, I am making this choice to be here, and this is why. And if I don't like that anymore, then I need to look at what works for me. But you gotta be there with it.
You do.
You gotta be without judgment, because we all do it in some way, somehow, every day.
Ownership isn't judgment.
No.
Ownership is, yep, that was me. Yeah, is that your car? Yes, sir. Is that your plate? Yes, ma'am. Is that your shadow? I think so.
I don't know. She looks thinner than I actually am. I like that shadow.
Can I have that? That might be a good shadow.
I'll take that shadow.
Yes, that I think is the other beauty of shadow work. So many people want to shy from that. And what do we mean by that? The most typical Debbie Ford example of shadow work is middle-age crisis.
Yeah.
Right? And yes, it's a perfect metaphor. You see it happen all the time. People have denied themselves what they need. The preacher that preaches against homosexuality comes out of the closet. The man that demands that his wife be faithful, never look at another woman because he's stepping out on her on the side. This is, the need to go buy a Corvette and get a Barbie doll girlfriend. These are, or young boyfriend, whatever. These are those typical, I've repressed my shadow for 40 years, and apparently we can only hold our shit for 40 years.
That's as far as humans been able to. All right.
Because at about 40, 42, 43, we begin to it oozes out of the side of us. People look at us funny. They're like, what's wrong with Tom? So you could go that route, and then it could be public and embarrassing and ugly. Or you could be with it as it shows up. I have had some horribly uncomfortable shadow moments that were completely liberating for having had them.
Oh, absolutely.
Because now I no longer have to hide and duck from that, because I finally claimed it as my own.
Or pretend that it doesn't exist, because
I'm okay with it, or
right, you give away your power, you give away your authenticity, you give yourself away when you deny that your shadow is functioning in your life.
Here's another shadow example real quick. The inability to say no. Simply, no. Woo! Talk
no
about
is a complete sentence.
Oh, that was a rough one for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Because I'm a problem solver and a people pleaser. Reformed. No, in recovery. I'll say reformed, and then, remember we talked last week about my hypocrisy? Anyhow, I can't get too big for my britches. And I have really big ass britches, because that's how I roll. But that whole, no with an excuse.
Right.
Now, sometimes I would do no with an excuse, but usually I'd say no, and then I would kill myself trying to figure out a way to make both things happen. So no one was disappointed, even if it created more time, less time, more trouble, more headache, resentment. It didn't matter. And I did this for so many years unconsciously. And then when I began to discover it, because nobody was telling me shit, it was working for them.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Every time I ask Sonya to do something, she says, yes, I like that.
Right?
Why would I want to change that? Sonya, keep doing that stuff.
Right? And then all of a sudden it was a no. Right? So think about that, right? Because that was a really big one for me that I never took and looked at as a shadow aspect. No, this is how you're a good girl.
Absolutely. That is still being taught as a thing.
Yeah. And so now, I'm not going to lie, I've derived some pleasure from time to time of saying no and just smiling at someone afterwards and watching their face contort as they try to figure out how to handle the fact that I didn't play. We all play this way.
Right.
You have to give me a justification. You have to give me an excuse. You have to give me a backup date. You have to reschedule with me. I just can say no.
Yes.
Maybe sometimes no thank you.
That's my favorite, honestly.
It is.
She
does it really well.
I'd be like, no, thank you. And they're like, and and this is what we're talking about is I mean, we're being very lighthearted
on some deep stuff.
Absolutely. It's very, very serious and important. And what is it that you said that the boomer?
Yeah.
Right? So please forgive me for using generalities, but the boomer age women are they have the highest pain tolerance.
Oh.
Is it the boomer age? Is that right?
Well, they're getting closer to it, but the age of, according to statistics from ICUs, the highest and lowest pain tolerance patients are women age 70 to 85, high pain tolerance.
Oh, that is boomer now.
Boomer and silent, because they're moving in, right?
Right.
But 20 years ago, this really was the silent generation. And then the lowest pain tolerance would be your boomer men. Although, again, as those numbers shift, now they're the Gen X guys. 40 to 55 have the lowest pain tolerance.
So you've got women who, we're Gen X.
Yeah, we're moving into that high pain tolerance area.
But we have more opportunities and more openness to be able to say no or no thank you, whereas those generations before us had less opportunity to do that simply because it wasn't accepted, and it caused extreme challenges in their life, and it's how they were brought up, so that's what they did.
Right.
So that option wasn't as readily available to women who are older, therefore the really high pain tolerance, because you just got to do the shit you just got to do.
You got to
and
endure.
It doesn't matter.
You got to endure. You have to suffer and sacrifice is the godly way,
right?
Or the feminine way,
right?
Like we laugh about some of those things. Ladies, do right by your husband. Don't make him have to wait for dinner when he comes home at the end of the day.
That's right. We shared that. Meet him at the door,
yeah.
well dressed, with your hair done and your makeup on, with his favorite drink in hand, and allow him to sit down and relax while you finish dinner. Keep the children away so they don't bother him.
And don't trouble him with your issues of the day.
Right.
He's worked hard all day and deserves his peace. If you ever want to see this, if you think we're kidding, Amazon, Netflix, the COVID gave us a lot of opportunity to get through all the shows we wanted to go and then start searching for something else. And there are some amazing commercials from the 50s and 60s that will either have you crying or laughing at the absurdity of it. But, talking about the boomers and the millennials, you made me think about something that I had a thought of earlier and that I was comparing and contrasting. So to me, the silent generation and the Gen Xers, which are us, right?
Yes, we are Gen Xers.
So our grandparents and us are very similar.
Okay.
Our parents and our children
are
very similar. So our boomer parents begat us, and we begat our parents. We begat our parents through our grandparents. Our parents begat us, and then we begat our children. So we need to look at this.
Well, or you could just be like me and skip a whole freaking generation and have a child the age of boomer grandchildren, because that's where I am right now. I just skipped the millennial and went on.
Yeah, because they're just like, and I run the gamut. Right. Yeah, I started in, I didn't start, but I mean, they literally go from 79 to 2003.
There you go.
And that he's given me the opportunity and the ability to look at those sort of shifts and differences. And I'm not picking on anybody that does anything. I just think it's kind of funny because there is an extrovert and an introvert. And I think, too, that it's the shadow and that light. Duality exists in everything.
Right.
Right? The ground, you plant the seed grows, it blooms, you have a harvest, it dies, the land is fallow, it regenerates, it brings new seeds up in the spring, right? Everything there is a season. And your shadow work is a season in your life experience. You liked that one, didn't you?
I do, yeah. Well, it's very fitting just for being, for being on this planet.
Right now, especially.
Yeah.
When you look at life and you think, why? It's for...
That was so well put.
Thank you.
Yes. Because I think everyone has felt that way.
Right.
Yeah. But you did it better. That was beautiful.
Thank you. There is, it's just us working through it.
Right.
It's just us working through it. And if we realize that we can give it as much or as little importance, because it doesn't matter. It really just doesn't matter. I know it seems like it matters a lot, but trust me, in the great big grand scheme of things, this is merely a page in a calendar that you're going to rip off and never see again. And I never liked those tearaway calendars.
You don't really see those anymore.
No, but when you had them, it was like, but if I had written something on that day, now I have no record of it.
Right.
So,
well, that's why I didn't have those. I had the books.
Big, right? Or the desk calendar.
Right? Yes.
Shove it in a file cabinet. My point is that it's just a day on the calendar. And so if you can allow yourself to sort of broaden your horizon a little bit, if I can allow myself to broaden my horizon a little bit, because again, this is my experience, this is her experience, it may not be your experience. You may be sitting there going, what are these ladies talking about here? Like, I have no clue.
You may be really pissed at us.
You may be really offended. Go, there they go, preaching to us. They said they weren't going to preach. We're not preaching. What we are doing, though, is trying to give you some examples of how these things can show up in life. If you already know it, you may know it. But, like, I discover every day a new area where, and of course, the moment it happens, I go, well, of course there has to be balance in that.
Right.
Because there's balance in everything.
Right.
So as you go through your days and your weeks, as we go through these last few weeks here in the United States of descending into the 9th level of hell, or our election cycle. I know we said we were going to talk politics.
Whatever you'd like to call it.
But here's why, the only reason why I mention this is because we do care about people. We share this not only because we like to hear ourselves talk, we think we're highly entertaining when we talk to each other, but also because we know that we are here to share, and this is the way we found that was easiest for us to do without getting in our shoes. And we just love you, and we love ourselves, and we want everyone to know that you are all so safe. No matter where you are right now, no matter what's happening in your world, no matter who you are afraid is going to take control and take things from you, there is a safety net for all of us. Go past the fear. Find the faith. Find the self-love. Find the self-confidence. Find the trust that we didn't all do this for no good reason.
And this didn't all just happen for no good reason. There was this dream that I had about a web that I want to share, and then I think we'll be done. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a hard goosebump time.
So there was, it was a couple of years ago, and things were still calm compared to where they are now.
Yes.
And so I had this, but I was feeling overwhelmed with everything that was going on. And so I asked, and I went into meditation, and I asked, how do we change the projectile, that's not the right word. How do we change the way that we are going, the projected way that we are going? How do we alter what is happening?
Trajectory.
Thank you, not projectory, trajectory.
But I like pro though because it's positive.
So how do we change that? What do we do? There's so much layer upon layer upon layer, and there's just so much to deal with and dig through, and so many people that have to agree to make things happen, and there's like 85 bajillion steps to do, and we don't agree, and what do we do? And
Stop, I'm overwhelmed.
I know. So anyway, I went into meditation, and I was given this image, this visual. And this visual was, I'll loosely state that it was every person on the planet, right? So there was a lot of people. And every person on this planet was hanging onto a white string. And it was interwoven between all of the people, just standing there looking, and everyone had two hands. Each hand was held onto the string, and look, you just saw seas of faces. And then the web, it looks like a web, the web started being pulled on by somewhere that we couldn't see, right? I didn't see anyone pulling on a web, but you could tell, like my hand. And then it started happening where people either couldn't hang on or just dropped because the burn on their hands was too much, so they'd let go of the web, and then the person next to them was like, oh my God. So they just reached up and grabbed it, right? And so there were people that were dropping the web, and other people were picking it up, and suddenly instead of holding 2, some people were holding 4, 5, 10, and more people were dropping because they couldn't hang on to the web. And then suddenly pieces of the web started to fall, and you could see it wasn't held tight anymore, and now was dragging on the ground in different places. And then people started walking away. So then there were huge, big pieces of the web. And what I got with that was that all of us in some way, somehow, are playing some type of role in holding up this reality that we are in. And maybe all we need to do is drop the fucking web and walk away. Because this reality cannot maintain itself without you and Sonya and me and all of us. It cannot maintain. And is that scary? Oh, fuck, that's scary.
Makes me want to cry.
Right?
Yeah.
Because then we're giving up. We've all been hanging on to this web for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? So then we're giving up basically everything that we know.
Right. And we're the strong survivors of this. Like, we're the most tenacious
Mofos?
mofos. So you can understand why there's such a divide on hold the rope, drop the rope.
Yes.
We are not, you are not a weak soul. Your brother or your enemy is not a weak soul. When you can get past the politics and the skin color and the gender, and remember that all of us that are here are bad mess pajamas.
Or else we wouldn't be here.
And yes, there are times when I'm like, even Paris Hilton?
No, she's picking on Paris Hilton. That ain't right.
Well, I don't know if there's really anybody that's got it any easier on this planet than Paris Hilton. Okay? Just saying. I'm not judging her. I'm just saying.
I was joking.
But she's like a great example to me of a young soul that has been so well cared for.
Yeah.
And so that they could come down here and have this human experience. Right? And when you see that, like, think about the first time you see your kid, like, pumping their little legs, or any kid, like, pumping their little legs on the swing, going, look at me, I'm swinging, look at I'm swinging. And you're like, that's so amazing, look at how amazing you are. Paris Hilton, you're amazing, you little soul, you. And for all you big old souls who've been holding that web,
And not just the 2 strands that you're holding up, trying to keep yours safe, trying to keep the people that you love safe, trying to keep the things that you love and honor and cherish safe. And that visual for me was extremely powerful. And I don't have it mastered, FYI. Remember how I said about breakdown this week? Yeah, I don't have it mastered. But it always comes back to remind me.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And, to me, whether you hold the rope or you don't hold the rope, hold the string or not, that's entirely up to you. But just to end from where we started with Caroline about the prostitute, which she talks about and how you work with this energy is have faith in yourself. When you have faith in yourself, you have faith in the divine.
Right.
If you can't trust yourself, then that spirit of distrust infects you, and it infects every area, every aspect of your life. So if you feel your faith slipping from your grasp, it's time to reassess your relationship with the prostitute archetype.
Nice.
This archetype has you selling out in the shadow, but it can also help you move into an authentic sense of worthiness in the light. To live in integrity means to keep your promises. You are healthy and whole, and when you act in alignment with what matters most to you, you are healthy and whole then, too.
Right.
So, again, this is a survivor archetype, and it is pervasive. Again, the reason we talked about this is because there's a lot of times you have no idea when this is going to strike, where it's going to strike, how it's going to strike. And again, all we're asking you to do is just to have these awarenesses of it and look at it and be authentic with it, and then see how that shifts. Maybe you'll drop the rope.
And walk away.
Because you have faith in yourself, and you have faith in something greater than yourself.
Right.
Whatever that is.
So we will include the book that we were talking about.
Yep.
So look for it in the information with this podcast. And I don't know, I feel we're good.
I think this was lovely. Thank you so much for being with us today and letting us just sort of have our cup of tea and talk about the things that come up for us that we decide to share with you.
Yes.
And maybe you're having these experiences too. So please let us know, comment, share, like, YouTube, Podbean, our WordPress and website, Google. In My Experience is the name of our podcast. Our website is inmyexperience.life, and our email, our Gmail account is inmyexperience1111@gmail.com. I am Sonya Lee.
And I am Piperlyne. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us. We wish you well.